All right. It is my honor now to welcome in an absolute living legend, one of the original members of the incredible band Foghat, Mr. Roger Earl. How are you, sir?
I still haven't mastered that. I'm doing fine, thank you. This should be fun. I made a couple of notes because those records that you wanted to talk about for a long time ago.
Yeah, just a couple minutes ago. Yeah.
A couple of minutes.
So yeah, we're talking Easy Money, which I'm so happy I gave 3 songs for you guys to pick, and you picked this one, which I was secretly hoping you would, because this one is really an important song when it comes to songs that define heavy metal. Because this is just a couple episodes ago we talked about Exciter from Judas Priest as being kind of the first ever speed metal song, or the nuclear for that. Okay. And this song, which came around also in the same year, 1978. Easy Money is a pretty fast song, and there's double kick drums, and I mean, this is again kind of the blueprint that became speed metal. Like, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. We haven't played it in ages, and one of the reasons, I have to be honest, is because our bass player isn't there, Craig McGregor. He and I, but Lonesome Dave got the song together. Had lyrics and everything, and but the basic tempo and feel came from myself and Craig McGregor, the bass player. We worked on that and got all the acting. So we tried it once or twice, but Craig had he owned that part of the stage in the studio playing bass, especially on that song. I would like to play. I've suggested it a few times, but we got 18, 19 albums out. So we got a lot of stuff to pick from.
It's a big catalog.
Yeah, big catalog. But yeah, it was a lot of fun making that record. We spent some time over it. We had the RCA unit. We rented the Woolworth Mansion out here on Long Island. In fact, I believe Linda, my wife, our manager, who was the office manager at the time, actually rented it. So it was a pretty cool place. There was nobody there, big organ in a huge room. Eddie Kramer was the producer on the album. I shouldn't say too much about that because we had some issues. Very arrogant person.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to touch too much on it, but it's interesting because, obviously Eddie was riding high doing Kiss, and it was a real interesting choice for him to produce the record. And I mean, I know that there was that there wasn't the best experience for you guys with Eddie recording the record. However, just from a fan's point of view, I think it's a brilliant record, and I think it sounds actually really, really good.
Well, that's because we mixed it, the band. What happened was we got to the mixing stage. We went into the studio, into the RCA mobile unit, and started listening. I said, "Hold on a second, Eddie. Put my drums, solo the drums." I said, "And we need to work on the 2 toms, the rack and the floor tom." He said, "Well, I've mixed them all down to 1 track." I said, "Without me being here, first day of mixing, and you do that? How many other tracks have you?" "Well, I did this one and this one and this one." I said, "Hold on a second." And that was the start of it. No, the band actually mixed it on the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's not easy.
No, it wasn't easy, but we knew what we wanted. But yes, the engineers that Eddie worked with were fantastic. But for some reason, he decided to berate them every morning he came in. I shouldn't really go on about this, but he was such an asshole.
Wow.
He really was. He treated the engineers are really cool. They're the ones who sort of do all the stuff, and he was like shouting at them and berating them and walking his dog. Anyway, enough of that. Eddie, yeah. Easy Money. What a great fucking track.
Amazing. And like I said, you mentioned earlier the bass line, and the bass line of this song is brilliant. I mean, absolutely brilliant. Martin Popoff at the start of the show, who's written over 150 books about hard rock and heavy metal, by the way, so he knows his stuff, he was going on about how great this song is as well. And also that the bass in this song is kind of the hidden highlight of it, because it really does drive the
Well,
song.
it is. That's why I said at the very beginning when we started talking about it, Craig McGregor was the bass player, and he owned that part of the stage when we played live. But on that song, he and I spent, just he and I spent a lot of time like working on stuff, anticipation, and the real tempo, because there's some really sort of well, for us at the time, intricate changes, and then Dave and Rod came in once we sort of figured out what we were doing. But yeah, Craig McGregor put his stamp all over that song. I miss him. He was my brother by a different mother. I loved him.
Yeah, where did the double kick drums come in? Had you used them before, or is that a new thing for Foghat at that time?
I always had them. Most of the time, to be perfectly honest with you, a drummer really only needs one. But that song, it was like, because you could, it was a good idea. So, and it worked easily on it because you had that sort of thing going underneath all the time. Most of the time, I don't use them in studio. Live, I use them occasionally on probably 3 songs, I think. They're just there to make noise and have fun.
Yeah. Well, but back in 1978, double kicks were not a common thing in rock music, really. So, what is interesting when it started coming out and the song started getting faster, that you were using the double kicks.
I've had double kick drums since I joined Savoy Brown. Not that I didn't use them a lot, just use them on maybe 2 or 3 songs, or if I did a drum solo, hopefully it makes some nice noises. But most of the time, one bass drum is enough. But drummers are notoriously greedy.
That is a true story, actually.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Now, you guys, I always like to ask this of art, because sometimes people are and sometimes they aren't as aware. Are you aware of just how influential Foghat was? I mean, really, I talk a lot about the 1970s on this show, because that's when I grew up in the 70s. And to me, and to all of the bands that came after the 70s and the 80s and 90s and all the way up until now, really the 70s, that was the essence, the beginning, the foundation of heavy metal. Are you guys aware of how influential you are to so many bands, Metallica and on and on?
It's always enjoyable, and I guess I'm pleasantly surprised anytime I meet fellow musicians and they talk about that and say that stuff to me, and it makes you feel really good. But being personally aware of it, not really, because I love to play. That's why I'm still doing it. I'm going to play until I have to have another double hand transplant or something. I love to play. I always wanted to play in a band. Sitting down practicing you have to do that, but playing in a band is what it's all about. And songs like that are just such a gas to play. It's like all of a sudden you can rip it.
Yeah, I mean, so amazing. And when I go back and listen to that song again, I realize wow, that song I mentioned it before, for the late 70s, that was a pretty fast song. And it was also a little bit different for Foghat too. It kind of had a little bit of a progressive feel to it too. Like you mentioned, a lot of different changes, which, wasn't quite the case all the time.
No, well, with Foghat, we created songs. Dave was the main songwriter. Rob was the lead guitar player and a brilliant side player, and Craig McGregor and I were the rhythm section, except when Nick Jameson played with us for a year, who's our longtime producer, produced the Fall for the City album and produced the live album. That's another story. You make songs, you have a song and you play the song, what the song needs, and what it's not like we have to be a heavy metal band, we have to be a blues band, we have to be a rock band. We're all that, jazz too.
Yep.
and I love soul music and gospel music. I remember a number of times Dave and I would listen to gospel music. It's like, it's about the music. And yes, my passion is blues and rock and roll. That's what I grew up listening to. Jerry Lee Lewis was the first. I was 12 years old. I went to see Jerry Lee Lewis. My father took me to see him in Southwest London at what was the theatre? Mitcham Majestic. I'm 12 and there's 13 actually, and I was with my best friend who was a bass player. I was just practicing at the time, and it was like, whoa. And I couldn't play piano. My brother was playing piano, older brother, and my dad played piano, but drums, they're louder than pianos.
Yeah, much. That's amazing. You know, you mentioned jazz, and I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, and that's one thing that, you know, I wasn't as aware of when it comes to influences in rock, and certainly heavy metal. I mean, heavy metal was built on the blues and classical. That's the two biggest influences. But jazz, especially the drummers, the first guy that brought this up is my favorite metal drummer of all time, Dave Lombardo from Slayer. And we're just talking about the way he plays, and he plays just he has a different feel to the way he plays, which makes him so unique. And he mentioned, you know, he's from Cuba and he was listening to a lot of that stuff growing up, but also listened to a ton of jazz. And so many drummers in both rock and metal have talked about how jazz was such a big influence. I didn't really realize it until now. And it's amazing that so many drummers like yourself as well would bring that up.
Well, when you learn to play drums, unless you're completely self-taught. The book, I started playing when I was 12. That's when I started playing. I got a drum teacher. I worked 3 nights a week after school. Saturday mornings, I worked in a bakery. And Saturday afternoon, I'd ride my bike over to my drum teacher. His name was Chris Hewitt. Also, I believe the Kinks drummer, he taught him as well. And my book was Buddy Rich's Drum Rudiments by Henry Adler. And it's like, you know, it's like swing.
Yep.
It's and you know, if you can't play a shuffle, you shouldn't be in a rock and roll band anyway.
Exactly.
And listen, when you my dad would play some big band records. I think that was like you know, like after the war, the GIs brought some really cool stuff over, and then you'd find it in record stores. And I remember Dad playing some big band music, and it was like, whoa, this is a drummer. So yeah, all that stuff. And jazz, any drummer who probably plays anywhere has sat down and done his jazz rudiments. I've forgotten a lot more than I ever learned. But you know, it's all about feel. Playing in rock and roll, I mean, you don't with a jazz band, often you're playing, you know, with a piano, bass. Even when you've got horns in the band, you still got to be light, you know, and listen to the music, listen to the vocalist, listen to, you know, whatever lead guitar is playing. And so it requires a lighter touch, which I'm not noted for. What is it? What did Nick Jameson call me once? Itamard.
Well, hitting hard is a good trait to have if you're a drummer, for sure. I love that you mentioned the fact that you just play music, and you know, it's nice when you hear the influence. You just play music. And I was lucky enough to reissue 5 Thin Lizzy records when we were at Warner Brothers in the early 90s, one of my all-time favorite bands. Yeah, and one of my favorite bands of all time. And we, you know, we did a bunch of stuff with Scott Gorham, and I was on a podcast with him years ago, and I was talking to him. I said, "Are you aware that like every single metal band, whether it's a death metal band or a regular metal band, all influenced by Thin Lizzy?" And he had no idea. He was like, you know, even like young kids, he was like shocked. I go, absolutely. And it's the same with Foghat. You walk up to a death metal band like Cannibal Corpse and talk Foghat, and they'll talk your ear off about how much they love Foghat. So but I love the fact that you're just kind of like, okay, it's nice that we do, but I do it because I play music. And I think that's ultimately what most artists will say.
Well, it's what it's about. You're playing music. I mean, if you're going to get up there and just wail and not listen to what's going on, you're not going to be a lot of fun to work with or play with. You know, our long time Brian Bassett has been in this band 30 years. He actually played with Rod Price and Lonesome Dave, our original musicians as well. He said, playing music is like having a conversation. Well, with me, might be a loud conversation, but it's the truth. You're talking to each other. That's what you do. You know, I'm seriously hearing challenged. I have 2 hearing aids. I don't wear them when I play, of course. That was part of the problem, but I can still hear everything. They've got Marshalls.
Yeah.
It's you're playing as a band. You play together. It's not one person. You're a band. And Foghat was always like that, right from the very beginning, as Savoy Brown was when it came to playing. And I think that's one of the reasons I got the job in the first place with Savoy Brown. And it's one of the reasons I'm still playing, because I love to play. I love to be creative, either new music. I mean, I don't get tired of playing I Just Want to Make Love to You with the way we play it. I don't get tired of playing Slow Ride or Fall for the City or Stone Blue. I have a fucking great time. It's fun.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the best. That's why I think everybody does it in the long term, is they do it for themselves and because they love to play and because it's a lot of fun. And us as fans, obviously we appreciate that because we get to enjoy all of that. So this may or may not be, this may be a compliment or maybe a non-compliment. I used to do a radio show in Phoenix in the 1990s, and I had Foghat on. And I wasn't in the studio because I was going to see a show somewhere or something or other. So I was calling in to talk to you guys. And I'd seen Foghat at that point, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 times. But it never dawned on me until I started talking to you guys that you guys were British. I always thought you were like from the South because that had that Southern blues rock feel. So when you're talking, I go, oh, that's right. I forgot these guys are actually from England.
We do come from the South.
Yeah,
South London.
Yeah, South London, exactly.
My parents came from the East End of London, but I grew up in Hounslow, Southwest London, and in Central London. That was where I sort of hung out. But
I thought it was the south of the United States.
I know. It was interesting. We on compilation records they put Foghat tunes on there. I'll take that as a compliment because that means the way we're creating music, the way we created music and played it, it's been accepted on blues aficionados. We get played on Bluesville, we get played on heavy metal, and some of our newer stuff getting played on country stations. And it's like, I think that's really cool. That in fact, because that's what you want to do. You want to reach people. You want to entertain. You want them to say, "Wow." You know, even you know, especially like one of the songs we do. It's an Elmore James song, I guess. It Hurts Me Too, which is a slow blues, and you know, and I'm playing the really like but our singer Scott, and also Lonesome Dave when he used to sing it, people are blown away by it because it emotes, and that's what you've got to try and do. Some songs. Yep. You don't emote. You're doing them. They're what they are. They're all different. They're all individual. And I think, like I said before, that's what you do. You treat the music, the song, as a song, and I play accordingly to what I think is right. So far, I'm still here and still in the band.
You're doing a good job on there. You're doing it successfully. That's exactly the way it should be. You mentioned the crossover of country, which is really interesting. Because just like a lot of metal heads, like heavy metal bands are influenced by rock and roll, especially 70s rock and roll. So it's country big time. I mean, I'm friends with all the guys in Morgan Wallen's band, and they're all huge metalheads. And so many people that work for his crew, and same thing with Hardy and, Jelly Roll. It's really interesting that the whole Taylor Swift bass player is his favorite band is Slayer. So, I mean, there's a lot of metal and rock and roll bleeding into country. So it kind of makes sense that's kind of where things go.
A quick story. When I was 12, 13, my older brother was 4 years older than me, Colin. He was learning to play piano. and he's a Jerry Lee Lewis fan, as I became. But Sun Records also had B.B. King did his first records there.
Yep.
And Johnny Cash.
Yep.
Now, my brother got a Johnny Cash album, his early stuff. I'm, as a 13-year-old kid, riding his bike to school in Hounslow, singing Johnny Cash songs. Nobody in my school knew who he was. Yeah, she loves you, Big River. More. Well, no more singing.
That's all right.
I loved Johnny Cash, even though he didn't have a drummer. There was always this terrific rhythm going through it. Luther Perkins on guitar, and there's a story. Now I'm growing up in Southwest London, and I hear these stories that are like, I don't know, magic to my ears. You know, high as the water, mama, 3 feet high and rising. I'm like, as you can tell, I'm a fan of this, my adopted home. I always have been ever since I can. There was some magic about America. There is magic about America. America has given music to the world to this day. Everything that all the beautiful combinations of music come together. And that's because we have this beautiful society from all over the world. And that's what makes us great, to me anyway.
Yeah, it's a really good point. And the comedian Jimmy Carr talks about that. Somebody mentioned to him, why is British music so good? And he goes, well, we just took what you guys did in America and we just repackaged it and sold it back to you, which really is kind of a brilliant way to think about it.
All the English musicians were impressed by American musicians, drummers, the music, horn players, piano players, vocalists. Every single one of them came out of that, 60s, 70s era. They would all say the same thing, I think.
Yes. Oh, you're 100% right. I read autobiographies when I'm flying around. So I've read almost all of them. And one of the best is Mick Fleetwood from Fleetwood Mac. And he mentions that too, that he got into all of that, all the American blues and all this American music. And it's sort of funny story about one of the first times Fleetwood Mac came to America, and they're playing, some 10,000 seat arena, and like Muddy Waters is down the street playing like an 800 seat club. And he's like, this is backwards. Like, we should be playing the club. He should be playing the arena. So, but you're 100% right. That's where so many of all those great English bands, they grew up listening to American blues, and that's what kind of begat all of this stuff.
That's right. And in fact, one of the things from early days, even the Savoy Brown days and Foghat days, Lonesome Dave and myself and Rod would always make sure that the writers had full credit. We would always praise them. And the really cool thing, the wonderful thing for me, I should say, is that I got to meet a bunch of my heroes. I met Muddy Waters. I jammed with him. I was in his band. I met Willie Dixon. I met a whole bunch of the drummers, like Francis Clay. I didn't meet Francis Clay, but hold on a second. Freddie Belo.
Yep. Wow.
Francis Clay, DJ Fontana. I met him as well. It's like I got to meet these people, the singers, the musicians, and I'm jam with them. And it's like that's the magic of music.
Yeah, 100%. It's incredible when you get to meet those sort of people. And same thing being in the music business here. I've been lucky to meet all of my heroes too, and it's just it's always a lot of fun. And it's the thing that bounds us all together. We're all just fans, and that's what I love about the rock and metal communities. We're all just fans, whether it's Metallica or some small band. We're all still just fans, and we kind of act that same way when we're around each other, which is awesome.
And fortunately for me, I never forgot how to be a fan. That's the reason you play music, because it inspired me. I've been blessed, and I'm very grateful, for what's happened throughout, my career. But it's like, I also think it's not the word luck. I don't use it. It's like, it's all I wanted to do. I mean, when I was initially started playing, I mean, I had to work. I left school when I was 15. I'd already bought my drum kit because I'd saved up because I worked after school. But cymbals were expensive.
Yeah.
So drums. And so I had to have a job. I was a commercial artist, but it was always about playing. I had to leave early sometimes, and they go, "Where are you going, Roger?" I have to leave early. It's like a family matter. It's private. I can't really talk about my mum like this. I lied.
Well, it was a good thing to do. It was a means to an end, right?
Yeah, it's all I ever wanted to do, and sometimes my relationships suffered a little bit because playing music was the most important thing. Without it, I was not going to earn enough money fishing.
Yeah.
That's another expensive sport.
Yes.
So, as a race car driver, I would never have made it. And it's, I guess you could call it being selfish, but I don't think anybody really became successful probably at anything unless you really cared about what you were doing. And if you have that, I mean, most people have to work, go to work and do a job, and thank goodness for that. But my job is to play drums in a rock and roll band, and I'm very pleased with myself.
Yeah, that's a good gig to have. And you're 100% right about loving it, especially in this business. People ask me all the time, what advice would you give me? I'm starting out either it's a band or, trying to get into the business somehow. I go, if you really love it, if you love the music and you love what you want to do, then do it. If you don't, it's not an easy business. It's a really difficult business, and it's tough, and you've got to really love what you're doing.
And keeping a band together.
Yeah.
That's hard, in between like finances, it's I'm okay at the moment because I married well. One of our fans, Linda, our manager, my wife, is just fantastic the way she deals with people and works. She works constantly working. But one of our fans said, "Hey, Rog, you married up." And I took that as a compliment because I did.
You should.
Actually, Linda was our office manager back in '76, and we were always friends. Went to each other's weddings. She knew all my two ex-wives and was good friends with them. Knows all my children. So I thought I'd ruined a perfectly good relationship 28 years ago, but probably one of the better moves I made. I shouldn't really be talking like this, should I?
No, it's all good. You've done well on all sides, which is a good thing. And I cannot thank you enough for doing this. I really appreciate it. You truly are a legend. It's an honor for me to sit down and talk to you about this amazing song and the amazing career and life you've had.
Yeah, it is. We're working on a book. We're working on I guess you could call it a documentary. I don't know when it's going to get finished. We've got thousands of hours of film and stuff. And the book is reams, and we've gone through 3 or 4 different writers. I think we settled on one now. Really good guy. But writing a book is like, I don't know, it seems like it's the end. But
it's funny you mentioned that because I've written 2 books now. And yeah, the first time that I wrote it, people were like, you should really write a book about the history of the label. I'm like, but don't you do that when you're like over, when it's all kind of, but people do want to hear about it now. And the books did, and same thing for any musician that's
well, Keith, I read Keith Richards' book, and he did it so well. It was funny that the stuff he said, but I'm saying to myself, I've got 3 daughters, and I don't think I could talk about this stuff. But they're all grown, so I suppose I've just got to get over that.
Yeah, you do have to tread lightly a little bit sometimes, but
yeah. Yes. Tread lightly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I look forward to books and documentaries about Foghat and your life would be amazing. So I'll sign up for that for sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, but
Awesome.
we're working on it. It's a work in progress. We're doing good.
Good. And touring keeps happening?
I'm sorry?
Touring keeps happening as well?
Oh, yeah. We're going to the UK in 8 days. We're playing 3 dates over there, one in Great Yarmouth, one in Shepherd's Bush in London,
Oh, yeah.
and one in Manchester.
Nice.
That's it, just 3 dates. Then after that, we're off. I'm really looking forward to that because we haven't played the UK since 1973.
Oh, wow.
Hawaii, Finland, Sweden.
Oh, right. Yeah. As we're also playing Hawaii. Is it in January? February. So
it's a good time to play Hawaii, by the way.
well, yeah, actually, it's sort of like a working vacation. It's just so that the band and crew bring their wives or girlfriends as well. You know, it's so Hawaii is such a beautiful place. Hopefully, I'll get to see Mick out there. I met him 2 or 3 times, and we bumped into each other over the years. But that would be cool to meet Mick again. Maybe he can come down and have a listen, or even sit in with me if he wants.
Yeah, I'll. Kirk Hammett from Metallica lives in Hawaii. I know he's a big fan. If he's around, I'm sure he'll want to come out and check that out too. So
okay, yeah. We've got 5 dates there over a 2-week period. So we'll be lounging around and just walking around there, and the smell of that country. That it's fabulous.
Yeah, especially in February when it's cold pretty much everywhere else. And you guys play in Vegas a lot. I live in Las Vegas, and you play here a lot. But every time you play here, I'm never home. So
all right.
It's not your fault. It's usually my fault. But I got to get to one of these. Well, again, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate it. And yeah, take care. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Yeah, same here. And you can't leave yet.
Okay.